Hello.
Hi, Roland. Nice to see you again. I know we met briefly at the Winter Welcome.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right.
So my apologies. They just switched my computer because of some issues. So I'm just going to find where to plug in my headphones.
Sure,
Just one
no
moment.
worries.
Thank you for calling the Mansfield Downtown Partnership. This is Denise. How may I help you?
Hi.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Christine. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks for joining the committee.
Oh, yeah. Just add more things on my
Just add
plate,
things. Yeah.
'cause why not? Your hair's so long.
Some weird lighting. I don't know. Yeah. I guess we haven't worked on the website since when was that project?
Last
Fall?
winter.
Last winter. Oh my gosh.
I feel like it, right? Maybe. You know what? I have no sense of time.
Time. Yeah. I don't know. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you. Thank you and everyone else from the committee for being so supportive. I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Just
I
taking
hope
things-
you're really not green, right?
I know,
You're
like,
not.
what is happening? I just switched my laptop for work stopped
Oh,
working, so
did you?
I went in today and took home my big desktop, but it's not looking as good.
Yeah.
It might just be the camera. I find that can change.
I know. I used to like this camera better, but now it's making.
Or could it be a setting that
Well,
not that
I
I'm
don't know. I'm
suggesting
just gonna.
you do that. I'm just counting on the fact that you're not really a green person at this juncture in your life.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
There. That kind of fixed it.
oh, that's better.
Okay.
Yeah, much better. Yeah. Huh. That's
That is
bizarre.
weird. I just turned the.
Oh,
Oh no, it switched back.
yeah.
Denise, are we expecting anyone else, do you think? Oh, I can't hear you.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
Hello, all. Denise, did you get Andrea's email? Okay.
I can't
can't
hear you,
hear you.
Denise.
Okay. Okay, so while you're working on sound, I'll go ahead and get us started. So we'll call this meeting to order. I'll have to work on channeling Kyle. He's so good at Robert's Rules of Order and making sure that things, so I'm gonna work on it.
Yeah, where is
So-
that, Kyle?
I don't know. Is he stepping off the festival committee? Yeah. I think he was just helping fill in for me. Yeah, you're stuck with me now.
I'm okay with that,
Okay.
but I was hoping.
I know. I always liked his sense of whimsy on the committee.
Yeah.
Okay. So introduce new committee member. Is that Christine? Okay.
Hey.
Christine, do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself and we can go around and introduce all of ourselves?
Sure. So I know Emily already, and Sarah, I get your emails every week. So I'm Christine Balestrini. I work at UConn, and I also live in Mansfield. And I think that's why I was asked if I wanted to help. I love Mansfield. Yay. I really do.
Thank you. Well, welcome. Have you met Ginny?
Ginny, you look very familiar to me.
Hi, I'm the recycling coordinator for the town. So
Oh,
if
that's
you,
why I picked up something from you years ago. That's probably why.
if you're signed up for trash service, you've dealt with me. So yeah. So yeah, and I'm on the committee.
Don't undersell yourself, Ginny. So she is all things sustainable here in Mansfield, which is wonderful. So she is our guiding force on how to keep the Celebrate Mansfield Festival very low waste and to turn it into a more sustainable event. And Ginny is wonderful. And she's a boatload of knowledge that none of us possess. So
Thank you, Sarah. Is- and who's your friend, Sarah?
this is Piper. I literally just got home at like 4:50. So she's doing her like my mom is home and I need to be on her, near her, with her, like hug me. She's gonna hug me.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
hello, Christine. Your name is so familiar. I'm sure we've crossed paths other than just via email. So yeah, I work for the town of Mansfield Early Childhood Services Coordinator. I, like you, love all things Mansfield. I live in town, I work in town, and the festival is such a good way to tie it all together. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Christine, and welcome.
Thanks.
Denise, were you going to try to say something? Should we see if your microphone's working? No.
Denise, if it helps, I could hear you when you answered the phone. And then it went away.
You can just mime your way through this meeting if you want. We'll figure it out. So, okay, great. So I'm thinking there are no public comments. Okay. If we've had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from the 11th, I wasn't there, but if there's a motion to approve.
I move
I
that
will-
go ahead,
No,
Sarah.
go ahead, Ginny. You're first. I will second.
Great.
Okay, all right. I move that we approve the minutes.
And I will second.
Any discussion? No, all in favor? I
I
guess it's really only. Okay, great. Those are approved. I heard from Kyle's summary on the board meeting that one of the major points of discussion last time was rethinking the festival mission to take into to account the commitment to sustainability. So I see here an option. I don't know if this is what was discussed last time, but the proposed mission is host a festival that celebrates the best of Mansfield, including art, music, entertainment, food, games, and activities, promotes local businesses, organizations, downtown stores, and the University of Connecticut, and honors the town of Mansfield's commitment to sustainability. Are there thoughts on that?
I like it. But I liked all the iterations that were presented, so.
I personally always think that a mission that you can read in one sentence that kind of encompasses everything is the way to go. So I do think that adding that addition, but still making it so it's, to the point. I agree with Jenny. I like it.
I like it too.
Great. Denise.
Can you hear
Oh.
me?
Yeah.
All right. So my apologies. I explained to Christine, I have a new computer. They just switched it out, IT, this afternoon, and my apologies. I figured out the sound thing. But so just to follow up, I know I sent an email around. The only other option that we discussed was putting this clause about the commitment to sustainability sort of earlier in the mission. I didn't include it because it really seemed rather clunky. But I just wanted to let you know that's why it says option 1. The other option was with that clause earlier in the sentence.
Great. So do we need to do a motion to approve this?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Do I have to read it again? How's that work?
No,
Okay.
I think somebody
No.
could say,
Oh,
I make a
I'm-
motion to approve as written.
Right. And then in the minutes, you would just have it written out as that is, and then that's fine.
I'm really glad
Yep.
you guys know what we're doing. Okay. Is there a motion? Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the mission of the Celebrate Mansfield Festival Committee to adopt the new mission as written.
yeah, not, yes, Christine, go ahead.
Yes, I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay, great. So the new mission statement moves forward. Do we need to share that with the board or anything like that, Denise, or is it just kind of?
Yeah, I think what I would say is in the next board meeting, in
Yeah.
your update on the committee, that would just be a good thing to share.
Okay, so it looks like the next item to discuss are rain alternatives.
So we talked a little bit about this last week or last month. So this is just sort of how, best laid plans could always change, but do we want to try for a rain date or try for an indoor location?
Well, I think our conversation was about how it's a little bit harder to line up people, whether they're vendors or musicians or, anybody really. If it means putting aside 2 weekends, two dates. So, yeah,
Is there typically a rain date? I don't remember.
last year there was, but I think that was the first time, wasn't it, Denise? It's always been if there's going to be rain, then it would be at E.O. Smith High School, and that's never happened so far.
Knock on wood.
It's amazing, yeah.
I mean, how hard was it last year? I feel like most people were okay with the rain date that we proposed. Is that right, Denise? Or were there conflicts for some people?
there were some conflicts. I would probably put it at about 20 to 30% of the booths asked about whether they would be required and said that either they couldn't make it or they would have difficulty with that rain date. As far as booking entertainment, generally we just put that into all agreements that it was 2 dates. So from our end, that was how we moved forward, but it was challenging. And I think people, especially when they were looking at it as a 2-weekend commitment, I think people were a little more hesitant to agree to sign up. The one thing that we talked about last week, which it's not necessarily a problem, but it might be more difficult for us to book the high school as an indoor location, depending on their current policies. So that's, I think, one of the things that I'm looking for from you guys is just which direction you'd like to move in. Because if it is looking for the indoor space, then I'll start that conversation, even if it might be a little more challenging with the high school.
Is there any way we could use the community center as a backup?
It's a great question, and I do not know, but I can pursue it. I mean, I think it's a great question because as far as I know, it's not something that has been discussed in recent
Right.
years. So,
And they have the large auditorium space, which could hold the tables. And it would also kind of give us the option if we wanted to still even do like in that community room, right? When you walk into the left, still have activities that are just, do like kids activities there, and then have the booths in the gym part of it and kind of utilize more of the space there. It just might be an option. Like if we thought that maybe EO wouldn't be welcoming to the indoor idea, the community center would then be kind of where we are, Denise, on par with what we're already doing because it's a town building. So it might just be more of an option. I don't know.
What, how do you think the turnout would be if it was an indoor event? See, I don't think I would go if it was inside.
I was thinking the same thing. Like it's definitely a different vibe. And I don't know if it's worth having a rain date to keep it outdoors, just because especially now that we have those community, or the craft booths, it feels like it's going to be a tighter fit in EO. I don't know if the community center would offer more, but I feel like part of the draw is like getting outside and being in the town square. And
is there any way, Denise, to do a Sunday rain date, plan the event on Saturday and then have the Sunday? I mean, the concert does not go that late at night. And I don't think that having it a Saturday versus a Sunday would be a deterrent to families.
yeah, I mean, I think that is an option. One reason we had avoided the Sunday was exactly like you said, because of the evening hours, but we're nowhere close to the sound ordinance, so that's not a concern. It's not really that late with the event, the performance ending at 8, with the cleanup generally finishing by about 10. So yeah, I mean, that is another option.
And
I
then
think
if
I'm going
it's
to
a
put out
rainy,
that.
if it's
Oh,
a,
no, go ahead.
well, if it's a rainy weekend, but I guess that would be true for any rain date, right? If both dates are rainy, then not going to happen, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. So what I've done in my previous experiences, if there is that backup date and both are looking like poor weather, you choose the one that's looking slightly better, whichever that is. But yeah, unfortunately, we can't, especially with those contracted performers and also some of the vendors that we might sign agreements with, if we have 2 dates that we can't really go beyond that, or at least not easily.
Yeah. So,
when do you usually have to commit to the rain alternative? Is it like now?
No, yeah, I think we have a little flexibility. So in our normal planning, if we were going to be reserving EO Smith as the rain indoor location, this is when the conversation would begin. especially because it's reserving the entirety of the high school, the parking lots, and having a janitor sort of ready for that time in case it's needed. I think there is a little more flexibility. I think especially like if we wanted to take the next few weeks and consider our options. And I think I'd like to follow back with the rest of the partnership staff, with Cynthia and Kathleen and possibly the board, just to find out how collectively how everyone feels about if we did a Sunday rain date. Are we all comfortable with that? I will also, following this meeting, I can follow up with the community center to start that conversation about whether that's an option for an indoor location.
And what do you think about the size or like spacing? You know, since I feel like, I mean, I don't know, maybe the festival, you had not as many booths last time, but we had like more craft booths and activities. So do you think it would still fit within EO Smith?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to pull up in, so every year, even though thankfully we haven't needed it, we make a map of
Yeah.
EO Smith with all of the booth locations. So I'm just going to pull up from 2019 how many booths we fit in that rain plan. All right, so we had 33, 60, we had 68 booths plus the cafeteria for 7 food booths and cooking demonstrations. Plus the atrium. Yeah, so we had room for, I mean, it's looking like about 90 booths total that we were fitting in EO Smith. And the locations we were using, the entranceway, the atrium, the cafeteria, the main gym, and the auxiliary gym.
Okay, so maybe we just use the next couple weeks, like you said, to kind of look at EO Smith, see what's possible, look into the community center, because maybe that's another option that we hadn't considered, and then talk with the board about their thoughts on either a rain date or keeping kind of to the plan of using an indoor location.
Yeah, I even think maybe if we want to prioritize that indoor space, well, I guess let me ask you, do we want to prioritize the indoor space? So I'm contacting EO Smith and Community Center and then following back with you guys next month. And if those aren't an option, discussing the rain date, or would you like to look at both the Sunday rain date and the indoor locations during these few weeks?
Me personally, I'm going to kind of stick with Christine, and I think that we should almost prioritize the rain date. I think having it outside is kind of what makes the festival. And yeah, so
I
I think
agree.
that should kind of be the route that we go down and see if the possibility. I just think that having it be a Saturday and a Sunday versus the 2 weekends, I do think you would get a stronger commitment, because then you're only committing to a weekend. And that second weekend in October, that when we're not doing it, is usually Columbus Day weekend. And so that's kind of like a long weekend for people. It deters people from wanting to commit to that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so what I'll do then, just to come back to, first following this meeting, I'll follow up with the partnership staff, with Cynthia and Kathleen, and talk about that Sunday and sort of propose that as our rain alternative. Make sure we're all on the same page. Depending on how Cynthia feels, she can bring that to the board and go that route. Or if we're all comfortable, we'll move forward with the Sunday. Depending how those conversations go, in my back pocket, I'll hold the community center and EO Smith.
Right. Should we move on to the festival budget? which I believe is in that materials packet that Denise sent out.
The one thing I just want to say, I know it's a lot to look at. A few things I just want to highlight because these are just some places where there are changes. There are some increases in, it's called the children's section. It's the family entertainment. So there are some increases there under street performers and also increasing the budget for the puppetry show on Wilbur Crossway. And then under music, it's an increase moving back toward our 2019 budget, but this is not fully back to where we had been, just to give you kind of a sense of the numbers there. In January 2020, before the event changed, we were actually planning an $8,000 budget for headliners and openers. So this is kind of like halfway between where we were last year and where we had been planning. But then would you like me to go line by line or section by section to talk through some of this, or do you have any questions?
I think that could be helpful if we just went by section by section. I know I'm kind of like, I'm still studying it a little bit. Yeah, and I know I have a couple questions. So do we want to just kind of go with your light blue headings, like advertising, art?
Sure. Yeah, perfect. So in advertising, this a lot of our printed marketing materials are in an in-kind sponsorship through Gullimo, and that's why you see those zeros there. So we will have those printed materials. They're just part of their sponsorship. The t-shirts, I've budgeted a higher, I've increased that budget line because we did run out of t-shirts last year. One thing I'm hoping to work with at our wrap meeting, Kyle said that he had good sources for ordering t-shirts. So I'm hoping that we might be able to get them much less than what this figure looks like. But that increased number represents a larger order than last year.
Great. That was going to be one of my questions, just because we ran out so quickly.
I was gonna say to check with Kyle because I know I'm on the Southeast School PTO and board, and our treasurer works in athletics, and she got us a great deal on t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff like that through her connections in athletics. So I bet he can come up with something.
Denise, do you happen to remember how much you pay a t-shirt on average?
Yeah, I can pull it up. So I do have the total there was $13.30 for 149 shirts, but I can pull up the breakdown. That'll just take me a moment.
Yeah, that seems high.
Because I know that our t-shirt guys, even that we work out with out of our office, we get them for they're under $6 a t-shirt.
I was gonna say we should be somewhere between, depending on how many colors are printed on the shirt, I would say somewhere between $6 and $8 a shirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just usually do black writing on a plain colored shirt, so we get them for about $5.50 a t-shirt. And he gives us a really good deal. But
And I think that's what the last t-shirts were, right? We did black on green shirts.
On green,
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so our prices were a little bit higher than that. So we were $8.80 per t-shirt. And for the extra larges, which were only a few, but that was $11.50 for those t-shirts.
okay. So yeah, I think we probably, between Kyle and like if we can, and I can get you my guy as a quote, that would give us 2 other vendors that might just drastically drop that cost.
Thank you both. I think that would be really helpful to get that a little bit more under control, because that is definitely part of this budget that has ballooned over the last few years.
And I wondered, I don't know if it really matters, but like some of the students didn't stay for very long. Is it like, do you commit to a certain amount of hours of volunteering in order to get a t-shirt?
Generally, we've provided a t-shirt for anyone that volunteers, and they're really supposed to be signing up for, previously, I really am open to changing this, however it best suits the event. But what has been, so there was sort of a morning time frame during setup, which is a few hours, then sort of this afternoon period during the booth operations, which was like 2 to 6. And then the breakdown period was really only 2 hours. It was 5:30 to 7:30. And then the cleanup again was about 2 hours, 7:30 to 9:30. So it really is small timeframes that
Yeah.
people are signing up for.
Emily, one of the things that we talked about last meeting was kind of having certain people in charge of different aspects of it so that poor Denise was not as overwhelmed, I think, in this whole process as she is.
Okay.
So I did volunteer to take on that volunteer piece of it. And so I know. I agree that I think it would be very beneficial to have actual time slots that they're signing up for. And that would be based on how they would be getting a t-shirt. So it would kind of be that 2-hour commitment
Right.
rotation throughout the day.
Yeah.
And that would also save us from that registration table from headquarters to just not be as bombarded.
Yeah.
And let it be known, like, you have to show up at your time slot. If you're scheduled from 3 to 5, that's when you're getting your t-shirt.
Yeah.
Is that from 3 to 5? And that, that's kind of how we would check people in. And so I think that's a good idea, and kind of holding volunteers to that 2-hour time chunk. I still think we'd get a really good amount of UConn volunteers. We might get enough that want to do the whole day. But it's just,
Yeah.
I think, a good option.
I think that sounds great. And I would say if we could look into maybe getting some of the shirts a different color for people like Sarah or the area heads, because I think that would be really beneficial, even if it is, a little bit more to get 5 to 10 shirts. I think separating people
Huge.
from the sea of green would be really helpful.
We definitely needed that last time, just to try to, explain, go see this person, and no real way to describe them other than like
the blonde over there.
yeah. In a sea of 250 college kids. So I think we definitely need different colored t-shirts, whether they're bright and neon. As much as I would hate to wear bright neon, I think that's what we need, to be very noticeable. And yeah, even if the area captains, I mean, I know that even then is getting a little crazy. Like if we were all green and they were all blue and volunteers were pink, it's very easy to tell. You come find a green, they point you in the direction of a blue shirt, and then you're the sea of yellow, like, I don't know.
Now, I'm very supportive of that. That is definitely something that had been in the past. Our budget was just very tight last year. So I think if we can find ways to save money on this t-shirt line, then we'll definitely be able to get those different colors, no problem.
That's great. Do we want to continue into the next category?
Sure. So the next one is a consistent, so we, as part of our entertainment budget, we pay a contribution to the Ballard Institute for the puppet workshop. And they offer the weekend before the festival, the puppet workshop to create the puppets for the puppet pageant performed at Betsy Patterson Square during the event.
Great. And we're still on board to do that for 2022.
Okay, great.
I know you talked a little bit about the children's section and some increases there already.
Yeah, I can really quickly just pull out, just to give you sort of some comparisons. John Walker, Pete Haddad, and the Kidsville Cuckoo Review, those have been their fees for quite a number of years. So no increase to those three. The puppetry show, last year, we had a Yukon student who performed for $150. I've increased that just because I think it's unlikely that we will find as high quality of a performance for that small amount. And it was very well attended, so I think it's worth an increase there. And then for the street performers, last year, we were very fortunate. Again, we had a Yukon student who performed as a parading puppet, and her fee was, or their fee was $150. And then we had the Eastern Insurance Associates. They actually brought, they paid to bring a stilt walker to the event, and that was fabulous. And I think it's worth us really looking into that type of street entertainment. I also have them, just for future discussions, I've added them to our sponsor list just to really specifically talk to them about an entertainment sponsorship, because I think it brought a lot to the event, and we might be able to cultivate their support of entertainment at the event.
Yeah, I loved her. She was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And she was so good natured and just willing to just keep going. I mean,
Yeah, she was up on those stilts all day.
It was amazing.
The next section is food for the volunteers. Oh, right.
Yep. So this is, so for the volunteers at the HQ table, we provide kind of just kind of a small lunch or snack. This has been donated by Subway for many years, but it's worth keeping that line item just in case they're not able to support us this year. So that is one of those line items that hopefully we won't have to really purchase. Moving into the miscellaneous, this is there are a few things in here. I want to point out the custodial staffing fee is only paid if we actually have the event in Eva Smith. So because we've never done that, we've never actually had to pay that fee. If we do move into that Sunday rain date, that won't be an expense. The event photographer, I don't have any examples to show you yet, but her photos from last year were wonderful. I think that this is definitely a great investment to capture marketing publicity. She did a great job at this event and also at Winter Welcome this year. So then moving into, any questions on that section? Okay, great. Moving into music, as I discussed, this the headliners and openers, that is halfway in between where we were headed in 2020 and where we what our fee was last year. So we're moving back toward our larger budget for music. This is something that Kathleen will use as she's investigating and booking artists. So that total won't go to one artist. She divides that between all of the opening entertainment and the headliner. A few other numbers there. For local stage productions, they provide all of the sound for the main stage. They also provide that stage extension that increases the depth of the Betsy Patterson stage, and they hang the bistro lights on Dog Lane. So that's what that covers. Any questions there? The recycling, the cups, plates, and bowls, etc. Those are the materials that we provide to the food booths for the compostable materials. Ginny, is that number, does that look like a reasonable number this year, or what do you think?
Well, one of the things that I have an aspiration to do is to look at for the food vendors that are participating to have reusable, washable items. And I know I would need to bring something, an outline to this committee to evaluate whether it's worth doing it. I would also need to work out how these things will be collected and washed. UConn might be the venue for washing them at one of the dining halls possibly, or one of the schools might be a venue for washing them, like E.O. Smith High School maybe. So anyhow, I have to work that out. So in answer to your question, I don't know.
I was going to
But-
mention that I feel like last year, kind of later in the game, we were talking about something like this, and we had
Yes.
specifically said, let's make sure to talk about it sooner,
Right.
next year. So it
Right.
feels like the time to
Yes.
investigate that kind of thing.
Yes, it
Especially,
is.
we had so many volunteers that I'm like, could we get washing stations and we put those kids to work washing? I don't know if that's allowed, or are there like,
I don't think that'd be, yeah,
soon
I don't,
enough?
yeah, I don't think that, no.
Like, but they could at least help collect stuff that if people are leaving it out, but I think it would be
Right.
good to start having that conversation now if that's something we want to
It
pursue.
is, yeah. I mean, if I have like a deadline of when I need to present this, then I will make sure that I get working on it. So if you say to me, have something sketched out for like the next meeting, then I'll do that. So
Yeah, Ginny, that's what I was just going to ask. Do you want to put this as an item on the next agenda for March?
sure. Yeah.
All right, let's plan on it.
Okay.
And how would that, I mean, maybe Ginny, that will be your research, but how would that type of situation work? Would we need enough for everyone to use? Or do you, if we have access to like a washing area like E.O. Smith or something, do we wash as we go?
No, I think it would be not wash as you go,
Yeah.
but rather just have enough on hand. I mean, I know what kind of quantities the food vendors have asked for in the past because I base the supply order on, and then they'll return what they don't use.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
so I have a sense about that. I just, yeah. So I'll put something together for the March meeting. It'll
That's
be
exciting.
a start. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Do we want to look at the setup section, Denise?
Yeah, moving down, just a few things that are here. I'll just point out the table and chair rental. That's a line item just for us to consider the logistical complications of borrowing tables and chairs. Really has been challenging and definitely was challenging last year. So it's just something for us to think about. That is a real just general estimate. That's not a quote from anyone. So if we were looking to rent tables and chairs, I would need to seek a quote from one of the rental companies. Christine, just to give you a little background, we borrow annually about 10 4-foot by 4-foot square tables from UConn. And those are used as sort of extra dining space. And then from the town, we borrow, it's approximately 22 6 to 8 foot tables from the fire department.
I was gonna
And
suggest
then-
could we borrow them from the fire department?
Yeah, so those are kind of our two primary sources. And then last year, the Ballard and Barnes and Noble were a huge help. They really allowed us to borrow several, we need to go pull the exact figure, but several 6 and 8 foot tables, as well as 8 small wooden benches for seating for some of the children's performance areas. So it was great. It was just, last year particularly, we had some logistical challenges. It was not, the organization, I was not particularly clear with the way that I organized it. So I think that the organization could definitely be fixed, but also we might want to consider if renting them and having the company drop them off and pick them up, if that might be worth the investment, especially if a quote is within within my estimate.
I know a guy, my husband's business partner actually rents tables and chairs, so I might be able to persuade them to do a nice donation for
That
us.
would be fantastic. And we could even, if he wanted to donate it from his company, we could work that out as an in-kind sponsorship, and we could work
Perfect.
those details.
I can definitely follow up on that. Because we would
Thank
just need
you.
tables. We wouldn't necessarily need chairs, correct?
Yeah, we would need to work out the numbers because we do. So
Okay.
from the fire department, we also borrow folding chairs. So I would need to just go through sort of exactly kind of what the totals have
Okay.
been. Does he have tables and chairs or just?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
because then
mean,
we
yeah, I
rolled
would-
out what, like 50 chairs from the Ballard Institute too.
That's right. Yes.
Right. I was gonna say, where did all those chairs come from last time?
Oh, you know,
So
our
the
closets.
partnership has, yeah, it really is a little bit of a
The
hodgepodge. So the
underground
partnership-
layer. That's really where they came from.
So we have about 50 chairs, 40 to 50 chairs or so, the 30 to 40 chairs in the Nash Zimmer Transportation Center. And then the fire department, we also borrow about 40 chairs or so. I would need to double check the exact number. And then last year we also borrowed, again, the Ballard was great to allow us to utilize those chairs as well. And these also, besides just general dining seating, they also are a benefit to our sponsors. So we provide sponsors with a table and chairs. It's one of the benefits for their sponsorship.
Was there anything
great.
else about setup?
No, the only thing else that I'll point out is I forgot to update it, but I will. So the company, we're not working with Global Site Services at the moment. We are working with another porta potty company, and they were great, and they helped us out after this previous company kind of was going to bail on us. So that I'll update the name of the company in there, but this figure shouldn't, unless they have major price changes, I don't anticipate that changing for the rental.
Right.
So then, as you can see, we've set our fundraising goal at 20,000 for sponsorships. And then these participation fees, I did just want to put out, I don't know if we talked about this last year. There is a $25 participation fee that's been kind of added to activity booths, craft booths, and food booths. And the reason for that is to just ensure that when people sign up and reserve their booth space, that they follow through and come to the event. That's the main reason that fee is there. And it is waived for participants from, there are just certain circumstances where we will waive that. But I just wanted to explain that that's what those fees are for. And last year, we did not hit these numbers. So I've kept them at our pre-pandemic numbers for those participation fees, but that is not, it doesn't reflect where we were last year. Oh,
Great.
and then actually, and I know it says it, I'm sorry, we actually are getting our 270 fund balance update next month. Our last one was from before the event last year. So our 270 fund balance is not what it looks like there. That is, not the current balance, but as soon as we get that report, I'll update it and it will reflect the expenses from the 2021 event.
Is it a lot less?
Yes, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's not not like not that I would worry, but it is less than this because there were additional payments that happened at or after the day of the event.
Okay.
Great. So it sounds like we have a few things that we can follow up on and then maybe discuss those in the March meeting.
Yeah, and then so I'm going to dig back to 2019, the last pre-pandemic year that I did this. One reason to review the budget was to just kind of see if, from having multiple eyes looking at this, do you think that there are any places that we should be more frugal and be making cuts to, or are there places that we are underselling and we should increase those budget items?
Well, I'm going to be the agitator here. I don't really need a t-shirt. You know, I know that that is something that volunteers go for. Like when I have the volunteers at the way stations, they're like, where can I get a t-shirt? But I have a lot of t-shirts, you know, I'll wear it for the day because I'm volunteering is there. So I'm not suggesting that anything be changed, but just a thought, can we rethink, you know, everybody that's volunteering to get a t-shirt? I know, Sarah, you had addressed like making sure that if somebody's getting a t-shirt that they're actually volunteering for a couple of hours. So
And Jenny, I think that there is a way to work in to our idea for like repeat volunteers. Like if you bring your t-shirt, maybe you get a gift card. I mean, I think that there's ways to make that sustainable, but I do think that I think the t-shirts should stay only from the point of view that we need them. I think if we could find a way to encourage them to be reused yearly, like maybe we pick a design this year and that's when we go with every year. And it's very simple and it has our logo on it so that, and we encourage people at the end, hey, if you have too many t-shirts and you want to reuse them, we will wash them and we will dry them and we will use them next year. And then years going forward, like if you're a volunteer for 7 years in a row and you have your same t-shirt, that's kind of cool.
you know, I'm just thinking though, and Denise, you're probably going to say this, that the t-shirts are one of the perks of sponsorship, right? So that's always changing every year. So, okay. Just
Yeah, so you read my mind. Yeah, and that's not to say we can't go that route, but I think we would need to come up with an alternative that
right,
really provided the sponsors as much exposure as those t-shirts.
right,
So
right.
that it definitely on our end, it would take a lot of creative thinking to find kind of what is that replacement if we're not offering them a spot on a t-shirt.
Yeah. So, okay, then never mind. I don't know of any place on here where you could cut back anymore.
It does seem like we might be able to get a couple quotes. Like we have time now to do some research and really try to be competitive with the amount per shirt. So maybe we can get that number down significantly. One thing, it's super tiny, so maybe it doesn't make, but I was thinking about the sustainability aspect and I see that we have 150 copies of site plan for packets. Is that what goes out to all of the activity booths, or is that what we use as at our table when we're like giving them to volunteers?
Yeah, so that is a great question. So those are part of the packet that gets mailed out. So yeah, so definitely thinking about that process, there is at least from the sustainability side, yeah, there's every participant gets mailed the printed packet with the various instructions, setup, breakdown, whatever the guidelines are that we need to provide them, the map. They usually get a flyer that they can hang up or use in their business
Yeah.
location. So yeah, so there is a lot of paper in that mailing.
Is that
Yeah, I
something that we
have
start to
wondered-
work towards going digital?
I was just gonna say that, is there anything that we can put on like the website or something that we can reduce some of that paper?
I mean, I think it is good to have the posters that people can hang in the windows, but maybe that's something that, you know I distributed a few of them, but maybe we just distribute those and everything else is digital.
Yeah, can I ask, so for those of you kind of with, like Sarah has had a booth and Emily, you've like before her here and kind of run the booth at the Ballard. How helpful, like, did you find that mailing helpful? Because I know we also follow it up with an email with all that information sent digitally.
I just used the email. I don't think I mean, and I think if you email it and someone really wants a hard copy, they could print it. And I think that, I personally wouldn't use a hard copy. I would just, download it on my phone and use that the day of. So that's definitely a way to cut corners. And I was even like thinking when I was looking at the ad, stop it. She's chewing my desk. Get down. For the ad in the community center for like, that's $500 when we could easily put it up on the town website for free. And, like, I'm just thinking of like things like that. I feel like there's been just a huge shift since the pandemic that everything is done virtually. And in the Connecticut Visits website, that's free if you submit. That's another really great way to get people from surrounding town and areas. So I think if we kind of just kept in mind, a lot of this advertising can be done via Facebook and these other free alternatives. Again, sending information home via the electronic backpacks, from the schools every week, free marketing, all of our different web pages from the town that own Facebook pages, not own, but run Facebook pages. I think that's just another way to cut back on that cost, because that's a lot of money that I think we could find other ways to do it for free.
Mhm.
And other very meaningful ways to do it for free.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering
Yeah.
about those print ads as well. Like, do we have any idea of how effective they are? I mean, we've tended to move it for the Ballard Institute away from print ads just because they are really expensive, and you can, like Sarah said, CT Visit or CT Now, Hartford Current, like all that's free online. So
Mhm.
And it's not included here. We definitely use those free
Yeah.
resources too. So that's definitely part of the marketing for the event. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great point. How visible, how much of an impact does that Chronicle, the ad in the Chronicle, the ad in the Parks and Rec? Yeah, I really don't know.
Well, I guess for the Chronicle, you'd probably be reaching a population that you wouldn't be reaching online. So, yeah, but Parks and Rec, I mean, if you're not putting ads in their brochure, is that mean that their income is reduced, in their budget? I don't know. I mean, their brochures, is that for a digital brochure? Is that for a print brochure? Do you know, Denise?
It's sort of both. So they
Okay.
print the brochure. It's sort of like a mini magazine that gets
Yeah,
printed and
right.
sent.
The catalog, right?
quarterly.
That comes out
Yeah.
early or whatever.
Yeah. So if
Yep,
it's,
and then that is also a PDF that you can access that
Yeah.
whole catalog.
I don't know that I'd do away with that, because Don't you guys think that people are reading through that brochure? No?
I don't
For-
look at the ads.
Yeah,
I want to
okay.
know what classes are and what time things are.
Right. And I was just
Okay.
thinking too, like, since the community centers moved a lot of their registration online, I feel like I utilize that option much more than the brochure anymore.
I see.
And that's just me as a town resident.
Yeah,
And I'm just thinking, they pay ad space to pay for the copies, and that's why the ad space is expensive, and they go through the Chronicle for so I think that if we were not doing a full page ad, then they would just be paying that much less to go to print anyway, because it would be a
I
page
see.
less in their brochure.
yeah.
How much are ads in that Celebrate Mansfield? Is it called Celebrate Mansfield? Sarah, weren't you in that?
The Mansfield Connections.
The connections, yeah. We were
Yeah, yep.
on the cover.
Yep.
I don't know. So again, that is run through a particular agency, and I don't know how you would reach. All the contact information is on that, but yeah, you're right. Maybe that's another smaller scale way that's less expensive, and that still gets distributed to every household in Mansfield.
Yeah, I
just like
almost
the-
feel
the
like
Parks and
that
Rec
might
brochure.
be a better use of a print ad versus the community center flyer brochure. Just because you're kind of intentionally flipping through it to see like who or what they're talking about in town. A little bit more than folks might do with the community center flyer.
And also, Denise, I was just thinking the senior center sends out their Sparks magazine every month. So if you were to provide them with like a little quarter-page blurb, they could put that in there, and then that goes to seniors in town electronically and in print. So it might be a way to get the message out there, but again, just on a smaller scale level.
Well, I have to say thank you. This is a great conversation. I really appreciate the feedback. And so one of the things, just to let you know, I'll follow back with Kathleen and kind of talk to her about kind of what we've talked about and all these different ideas. And we'll report back at the next meeting to kind of talk about, because she is the senior communications manager, she really creates the whole marketing plan for the event. So I don't want to speak out of place. Like, she's going to create that marketing plan.
Sure. So just to be kind of aware of the time, it's 6 o'clock now. So I don't know how much we want to dive into kind of the last item on the list, children's activities.
Yep. So this is just like last month. I can keep this on. So last month we had a really broad brainstorm and it was way too much for the end of the meeting. I cut it back, but I can also just keep this on for the next month, or I can change to another theme.
And is it just that discussion of kind of what are some, like, what should we continue from last time? And then what are some other ideas of new activities?
Exactly. It's just sort of, yeah, the broader conversation of what should we do this year? Is there something that we're missing? Are there ideas that could be exciting to bring into it?
So this might be too much, but what about like a rock climbing wall? I know
Yeah,
my
no,
kid
it's-
would love that. I would love that.
It is definitely not too much. We've done it in the past, so we can
Okay.
definitely go back to some of those. There are two different companies that we've worked with, so I can kind of look at, follow back to find out what their current quotes are for the rock climbing wall.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like, I
And
definitely,
it's fun.
I,
Oh, that's right. I do remember it one year. It was down the side in
Yeah.
the back by grill
Exactly, sort of
36
down-
or whatever, right? Or 86.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
I remember that.
So maybe this is a thing that, like you said, we can just keep it on the agenda for next time. Everyone continue brainstorming.
And also, if you have an idea and you don't want to sit on it, you can just shoot me an email and be like, oh, I woke up at 3 a.m. We need to do X.
Do not encourage my monkeys to wake up at 3 a.m. because when they start running, they don't stop.
Well, I guess if there's no other ideas or items to discuss, is there a motion to adjourn? Or do people want to just keep talking?
No,
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will second.
Okay, great. Meeting adjourned.
Oh gosh, thank
Thank you.
Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so
Yeah.
much. This was a
Have a
great
good
meeting.
evening. Yeah,
Have a
good to
good
see all of you.
night.
Care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Yep.
Thank you all.